If anybody wants to know what I said who wasn't here, feel free to have them call me.
She has it all memorized.
Exactly, word for word.
Okay, Cranford-Millburn assigned A, abstract, jumble.
Okay, it's really got an interesting sense of motion. It's almost like a crowd in a subway station to me, with people like pushing through and going through. So it's kind of exciting to look at. I'm a little bit bothered by the depth of field choice. I think that you should have stopped down a little more to get more in focus than what's in focus. You know, there's this kind of center area. But I like enough about it that I want to take a look at it again. 7.
Tangled up in blue.
Okay, it's kind of a risky composition with this big field of black and just a little bit happening on the edge. I think for it to work, I think the shape needs to be a little more dynamic than what you have there. I don't really think it's enough to hold this together. You know, I suppose one could feel like a black hole and there's just a little light in the tunnel or something like that. But there's also like a little spot of white in that blue that's kind of bugging me. I just think that the shape that you do have isn't really enough to make this work. 6.
Rust.
Okay. Nice contrast, nice colors. Everything's focused well. I guess the lighting is a little bit harsh, you know, especially on the lower right-hand side. I guess if I were to redo this, I'd probably try to darken that bright side or lighten up the other side just so it has a little more balance. The bright areas really do pull your eyes. And when you're developing your pictures on the computer, I say this a lot, like, put your Photoshop with the black background and put it with the white background, and your picture will look totally different both ways. And it will really help you kind of see the lighting, especially on the edges. Because if you did this on white, you might not have realized how different the lighting was. I like the composition though, and I like what you were getting at here. So I'm going to give it a 7 for now.
4 corners.
Huh, that's really fun. Something to look at in every corner, but this vortex pulling me in. I think it's a really unique image, and I like that the things in the corners are actually something I could look at and connect with, but then there's this whole fantasy going on. Nicely done. 7.
Falling lights.
Looks like there's a secret message in there. I'm trying to like decode it right now. The long light trails are nice. Like maybe you moved your camera, or you know, maybe the string of lights is moving, but I just feel like it doesn't have enough pop or something for me. Maybe it's the brightness of the brights. Maybe it's just the colors are not super exciting. I like that you're working with this kind of thing, but I don't think this image really pulls it off. 6.
Empire State Building.
Yeah, it's really neat how it's kind of grounded in a sort of reality, but then it kind of goes off into this crazy fantasy world. And I actually really love the tip of purple that swoops up with the little red at the top. I don't know if it's the top of the tower, the lightning rod, or whatever, but those colors on black, that motion makes a really nice and unique abstract image. It would look great printed on metal or glossy paper. 7.
Roadrunner.
Okay, just a reminder, always put a little black, put a border around your pictures that have a lot of black on them, because they kind of merge into the background at the competition, and it's hard to see exactly where your image ends. I think I can see where it ends. And you could pick a color. A lot of times I'll pick a color that's in there already to use as my border. But what's going on, I actually really like it. I kind of looks like a I don't know. I'm thinking of a piano and like the sounds coming out. It's suggesting sound to me somehow. It's got a lot of dynamic energy to it. 7.
Lights.
Okay, it's kind of fun. And even though there's not an edge to it, there's enough going on at the edge. I can see where the edge is, but I still think an edge probably might be good here. It's a little chaotic, but not super chaotic. There's separation between the colors and lines and everything. The inside isn't really that attractive. You can use this and put something else in the middle too if you really want to go crazy on Photoshop. But a little bit, it looks like the eyes of a monster on the inside, so I kind of like that. 7.
Craters of the moon.
Okay, nice texture. I don't think there's enough patterning here to graphically be really interesting. The texture is super interesting. I think if you zoomed into a certain part of this, it would probably hold my eye and my interest a little bit better. The uneven lighting is a little bit difficult to look at as well. And furthermore, I would say, like, if you're going to darken the background, like, just do it a little more evenly. It's kind of distracting me from the very interesting texture here. 6.
Warp speed.
Okay, that's fun. Definitely feel motion and depth. Colors came out nicely. There's a lot of black. I think the colors look nice against the black. Something about the black being right in the middle, I feel like there's something missing. But maybe that's the black hole where we're all heading toward or something someday. 7.
Simon Says.
Okay. Very saturated colors, suggestive of a body, but you could also use your imagination like a Rorschach test and see a lot of things into this. I like the top 2/3 the best because the colors kind of smoothly transition into each other, but I don't know, the blue is kind of jarring how you've got that edge to it. It doesn't seem to like match the rest of the feel of the picture. 6.
Droplet.
Okay, well, it's sort of half abstract, I guess, like it's a droplet, but there's a lot going on here with color and texture and everything like that. So I'm going to look at it not as a droplet, as just of a design. And what I like about it is the way you captured the depth. You don't really realize how much water dents like that and rises. And it's quite interesting. It's a sculpture that happened in a split second, less than a split second. 7.
Abstract stare.
I'm staring at the stare. Your lines work well together. The colors work well. The main thing I'm having a problem with is the main light yellow stare that's kind of smack in front of my eyes here. It's like the least interesting part. I kind of feel like if this were cropped a little different or something was crossing that bright swath of yellow that's not really, it's sort of taking over the picture. I don't know, I think there's a lot of potential here, but I just think it quite doesn't make it. 6. Eight. I'm going to give it a 7. I hope you resubmit it after you kind of work on evening the lighting out a little bit. 9. 9. 8. 8. 8. 9.
Okay, assigned A, abstract, honorable mention. Jumble, Charlene Federowitz. Roadrunner, Neil Hunter. Lights, Nellie Stolars. Warp Speed, Jim Chelan. And Equal Merit, Four Corners, James Chelan. And Empire State Building, James Chelan. Jim Chelan. Droplet, Nellie Stolars.
Nice work.
So,
How many?
17. Cranford-Millburn assigned salon, abstract. Eye in the sky.
I could look at clouds for hours. You know, there's nice differential in tones here. When I'm looking at it as an abstract, though, I don't really feel like there's enough connection between all the different tones that are happening. Yeah, there's this dark part that kind of looks like an eye, or maybe that's the eye up there, I guess. I guess I could see that one now. But if you didn't tell me that, I feel kind of lost in the big white space in the middle. Sometimes we get attached to what we think is in the picture, but somebody new looks at it, you have to be able to look at it and say, is this really working? You know, like if I don't think about what it is. So I'm going to give it a 7. I don't know if it's possible to do maybe some burning of that really bright white stripe in the middle, but I feel like it needs something. 7.
Aloft.
Okay, so the suggestion is a bird in flight, and probably that's what it is. But again, you want to look at it for what it is graphically. You know, there's brown, there's whitish purple, there's and movement going this way, and does it work without even thinking, what is this? You know, a lot of times with my abstracts, I flip them around, so I kind of like just start looking at things as shapes and color fields and everything like that. I'll give it a 7, but I feel like maybe the colors or the brightness or something isn't exactly working out, but I want to think about that one. 7.
Sand art.
It almost looks like the wind was blowing when you took the picture. There's like a little kind of almost like a haze or something, but I don't really mind it. And I like what you found. I like the patterns that you found. You didn't have any particularly exciting light, but there's enough difference between the lights in the middle and then the dark ridges to make it a compelling image. You know, my eyes like a little mouse in a maze, kind of going all around, checking all the corners and everything. 7.
Ribs.
This is a neat image. I could feel, I guess I have like a visceral feeling a lot when I look at pictures. I think that actually helps me in my compositions, but I could feel like this sort of panic about this when I look at this picture, like I'm falling down into this corner here. So I kind of like that, you making me feel something. And it's definitely interesting. It's rhythmic. It's dynamic. You know, yeah, the whites are blown out, but who cares? It's an abstract, right? In this case, it doesn't. The whites aren't like pulling me into the whites, and I'm not going everywhere else. I feel like there's a nice balance here. 7.
Warming up.
It's a little less abstract than I would hope, but it is, you know, you're kind of pushing the edge there. I mean, it's obviously what we know what it is. There's definitely abstractions in the movement, so I'll score it. But and sometimes in motion abstracts, we want something that's a little more grounding, like we see here with a football player in the front. 7.
Steps.
Okay, this image has a lot of presence to it. I could feel the photographer really choosing where to look, where to stand, how to crop it. Everything's just kind of perfect, like the textures, the lighting, the movement of everything through here. I think it works really well. 7.
Form.
Okay, interesting. You got a couple things going on here. You've got the background patterns, and then you've got something breaking up the patterns. It almost feels like something alive, The saturation, I don't know, I'm just debating on that. It's a little bit distracting to me, but if I just stand back and say, I'm just not thinking about what it is, I think you found something interesting and you composed it well. 7.
Sunrise coffee.
As I take a drink here. The water, well, I'm saying it's water, but I just love the shutter speed that you use to get that sculptural effect on the water. It really looks 3-dimensional and solid to me. The yellows look a little kind of like, the color looks a little greenish yellow to me. I'm not really in love with the yellows in here, but I kind of like that you did get a spark of color from the sunshine in there, or from whatever. Focus is nice and everything. 7.
Reflections number 2.
Okay, so yeah, it's kind of interesting because I didn't realize it was a reflection at first. I thought it was the actual building, and I was like a little disoriented. So there's this waviness and this sort of like a ungrounded feeling to it, but I kind of like that. And it's contrasts with the structure of the lines that are implied there in the reflections and the lines that are actually in the windows. 7.
What do you see?
Yeah, this is one of these, you could look at one way and it's popping out at you this way, and then you look at it this way and it's popping out at you this way. Really nice work with the tonal ranges. I'd be curious if the blacks were a little blacker, how that would look, but I'm not really going to complain because I think you found something repetitive and not boring, and like a lot to look at. That's interesting here. Nice job. 7.
Double vision.
Once again, I feel like it's sort of pushing the edge of what's abstract, but obviously, reality doesn't look that way. So we'll go with abstract for this. I like the whole double vision thing. I don't really like the arm through the face. It's a little it's distracting, or it feels like it's random, and I don't know. I don't really think that works. 6.
Steel stacks reflection.
Really looks sci-fi. I mean, it's just like, I see this as the cover opening for some sci-fi movie, like those things something's gonna come crawling out or something like that. I really love the one on the left, the waviness of the reflection in there. But as a whole, I think it balances. You've got this heavy visual weight on this side, and then you've got several things on this side with some space in between. I think your cropping works really well here. I'd be curious to darken the blues a little bit. I just think that might kind of look neat, but I think as presented, it's definitely a 7.
Landscape.
Okay, I am a fan of intentional camera movement, but again, kind of like divorce yourself of what it is and just look at what you see. Like, it's brown, It's blue, it's bright. I don't think compositionally there's really enough here to really work for me for like, I just get a little bit lost, I guess. And I like ICM, so it's not about that. I just feel like there's needs to be something a little more connected or grounded in here. 6.
Black ice.
Looks purple to me. No, just joking. Really nicely focused, composed. You know, you could push the coloring to look more black or more blue or more purple. That's your choice as an artist. I think I would like it just a tad brighter in the darks, but I think it works fine. And this is another one that would probably look really nice on a metal print because of that kind of that rich glossiness that you see. 7.
Auto rust.
It's funny because if you didn't tell me the title, I would have thought those were mountains up in the corner, like snowy mountains, kind of melting into Death Valley or something like that. So I see a swirl. The colors are all right. The lighting is, I don't think it's anything extra special. I mean, it's cool, but I don't really feel like there's enough pop to it or enough kind of imagination or something like that. 7.
Angled lines.
Okay, this works well. The diagonals in this rectangle like this, you know, there's separation, but that's kind of built into what you were looking at. But you chose a nice place to stand for a pleasing image. 7.
Great balls of color.
That was a kind of a fun image. It feels like Christmas, and I get to like look at each of these things like it's a present I'm unwrapping, and then there's like some disco lights in the background. It feels celebratory to me to look at, even though I have no idea what I'm looking at, but I like it. 7. Seven. 7. 8. 9. 7. 9. 8. 8. 8. 9. 8. 8. 7. 8. 8.
Science salon abstract. Honorable mention. Sand art. Cheryl Gilfillian. Form. Arlene Sopranzetti. Sunrise Coffee. Lenny McDonald. Reflections number 2. Cheryl Gilfillian. Steel Stacks Reflection. Ellen Stein. Black Ice. Lenny McDonald. Angled Lines. Peter Schmeichel. Great balls of color, Ellen Stein. And equal merit, ribs, Peter Schmeichel. Steps, Ellen Stein. What do you see, Peter Schmeichel?
That was really fun to judge the abstract. You guys did really nice work there, creative.
You're probably gonna see some more.
Oh, okay, good. People on a roll, right?
Yeah, a lot of times people do that.
Now it's anything goes, right?
Yeah, correct. Okay, we only have 3 in this contest.
Am I giving too many awards?
No,
Okay.
as many or as few
Remember
as you.
back in the old days, we could only give first, second, and third?
Yeah.
Cranford-Millburn, Open B. Alex at Dover.
It's really hard to switch gears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you know, just if the maker's here, even something like this, you're gonna wanna put a little outline around the outside because it just sort of fades into the bottom. I think the lighting is a little off, like her arm looks purple. I don't think that's gonna really be very attractive. You know, you caught a nice pose and a nice expression, but I just think your colors are off here. 6, sorry.
Pigeon Rocks.
Hey, nice vantage point. It's kind of like they just kind of feel like 2 people like on the beach looking at the sunset or something. They have kind of a presence to them that, I don't know, I like the orientation that you're looking at them with. And nice work with the colors as well. Although I'm not sure how that light got on the back because the sun is over there, but whatever. 7.
Stained glass.
Okay, abstract. I really like the symmetry in both directions, but a little varied because the bottom's got that kind of pull to it. Nicely focused on the foreground, but in the background, it's just a little soft to give it this distinction. Very pleasing image, 7. Oh.
Oops. Wrong thing.
Eight. 9.
Open B, honorable mention. Pigeon Rocks, Emma Taker. And equal merit, stained glass, Bill Hanson. Cranford-Millburn, Open A. Cat with balls.
It's really neat, these things that you guys are doing, some of you are doing. It's just the thing about like, does the background complement the foreground? And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I feel like it's a little too busy. Like in this case, what's happening inside these balls is really fascinating. And the background kind of pulls me away, and it's kind of fascinating, but really I feel like the attention is on what's happening here. So I think this picture would be better with the background minimized a bit. Or your angle a little lower or something like that. 6. I think you could work with this one.
Shake it.
I'm glad there's no poop coming out. It's really exciting seeing peregrine falcons, and no matter what they're doing, you know, and you kind of had a bad situation as far as lighting goes, like from behind. However, because it's shaking and the dust is flying off of it, you were able to illuminate the dust and feathers. So you kind of made the best of it. You know, focus looks good, shutter speed looks good. It's just the lighting's a little tricky, but I think it's fine. 7.
The boxer.
It's really neat. It's got this like, you know, two double image kind of thing going on, light and dark. It's got a kind of a deep and mysterious feel to it. Like you could interpret this in some different ways. I think the placement and the framing works really well. It's very imaginative and evocative for me. 7.
Morning mist.
Just gonna move because of my keyboard to see what Hey, you found a really nice place to stand, to have this leading line going off into the wonderland of fog and cool trees. I think that the way that you cropped it works well. I mean, you wouldn't want too much of that bright sky. And your fog does not look gray. Like so many people's fog looks gray, but you had your white, your white point looks perfect here. It would look good with someone on the bridge, but it also looks good without somebody on the bridge. There's enough to it. 7.
Picnic in the park.
Looks pretty cozy. It's interesting because here I do feel that I'm missing the human presence here. Like it's like a setup to me, but it's almost like too perfect of a setup, and I feel like it needs something to animate it to kind of make it come alive. The other thing is the lighting is a little bit harsh. You've got the really bright white pillows that are kind of pulling my eye in, but then there's nothing there. Even though it's the nice time of the day, I think with the dark shadows and the bright light, it doesn't really seem to pull it off for me. 6.
Kitty.
Well, you caught an interesting gesture, I guess you would call it. So I feel like there's this weird thing going on with the background. I don't know. It's almost to me like it was pasted on there, or like the edges are so obvious, and then there's sort of this stuff going on. And I'm not judging the picture on the background, but everything contributes to the overall feel. And while the cat is well exposed and doing something interesting, it sort of doesn't really match the lighting and the color of the background. So I just feel like it just doesn't really work for me. I'm sorry. 6.
Russ never sleeps.
So I like sort of pictures that you can't exactly interpret, because then you can use your imagination for it. I'm having a little trouble connecting with it, although I like the tones. I really like this sort of rust tones, and even in the kind of whites, and the motion. I keep feeling like it's a springboard or something like that. Like I'm looking at it and springing up. But I'm going to look at this again. I'm feeling a little bit lost with this one. So I'm not sure it's working really. But I want to see it again. 7.
East River full moon 29/22.
I have a feeling you meant 2022.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, moon really does come up that color, and it's just you get those sort of ragged edges. That's always how it looks. But you focused as well as you could, and it's a nice juxtaposition. I think I would have liked it a little bit better if there was a little more light on the bridge, and you could sort of see the patterning of the bridge a little more. I think that it's sort of lost in the mushy black at the bottom. But it's also still cool to see this giant moon behind that structure. I'm going to say 7, but if I don't promote it, it's because of the darkness. It's like I feel like it's too dark, but I want to look at it again. 7.
Along the river.
I love this angle, it's like, it's kind of an interesting, almost square crop, or maybe it's a square crop, but the way that you stood really gives it so much depth. I give you credit for that. It's not always easy to get that feel in a picture. And things are focused from front to back nicely. The light is not that exciting. I think this picture would really pop if you had like nice warm afternoon or morning light on it. It's just a little bit flat. So I like your composition. I don't think the lighting is great. We're in A, you said?
Yes.
We're in A. Okay, so 7.
Parrot head.
It's a little scary. But that's good. It's kind of intense. It's kind of like right at you, looking right at you. And the beak looks really, really sharp. And there's a little motion in the wings, but that kind of gives it this urgent feeling like it's coming at you. 7.
Rusted motor.
What's so interesting is I thought it was a wreath at first. It's kind of pretty in the industrial sort of way. It's a really interesting thing that you found there. I wonder if you were a little bit lower down, how that would have looked. But in the way, you have the context from the angle that you're at. If you were right down on it, it might be too centered and everything. I like it. 7. 8. 9. 9. 7. 8. 7. 8. 7.
Okay, open A, honorable mention. Shake It, Charlene Federer. East River Full Moon 2922, Jim Chilean. Parrot Head, Neil Hunter. Equal Merit, The Boxer, Neil Hunter. Morning Mist, Jim Chilean. We have 26 in the salon. Cranford-Millburn, Open Salon. Submerge.
Yeah, the feeling I get from this, it's like it's jiggling, but it's solid. It's kind of one of these visceral reactions that I have, like, I don't know, I want to touch it, but it's ephemeral. I think composition works well to have this kind of like yellow subject with the kind of greenish color around the outside. The lighting is pleasing and the focus looks good. Both as abstract and the fact that I know what it is. I like that one a lot. 7.
A Patriot.
I love the rim lighting on his face and the placement of him in the frame and how he's looking and you could see him connecting, whether he's singing or giving a speech or just watching somebody. I find it very powerful. You have the historical context of the plane in the background. I think this is a very powerful image because of the humanity and the lighting and everything. 7.
Female Cardinal number 5.
Okay. It's cropped so close. So I feel like a little bird, I can't breathe, but I'm not going to score against that. I just wonder if a little more space would be a little bit better. She's beautiful. There's kind of an interesting haze in front of her tail. I'm just kind of curious about like what would cause her tail to be hazy when the rest of her is so focused and like perfect. Um, it's just like a tad distracting to me, but I like it overall. 7.
Edge.
So the smoke makes it for me, or whatever it is. It's just like this perfectly structured, interesting building, and then there's this something of a whole different element, just giving this contrast. I don't know, just kind of like that's the little snap for me. If it were just the building, I'd like it okay, but that smoke is just this contrast. I don't know. I get excited when I look at it. I'd be curious to see this in black and white, but I think it looks great with the blue sky. 7.
Golden snitch.
It's like frozen in time right there. So, your focus was right on, like just, your shutter speed was great. There's a little movement in the wings, but it's just perfect amount. It's hard to get the insect and the flower all in focus like you did. I love the placement of the flower in the corner there. Natural colors and look to it. Really beautiful. 7.
Morning at Indian Head.
Hey, it's a great feel, like I feel like I'm there. I feel like I can feel this big space in front of me. So perspective works well for me. Of course, the person wearing red, it's always an attractive focal point to have a person there. 7.
Peewee.
Okay, found a nice, cute little bird in a nice pose, slightly looking away, but it's all right. There's enough. I can see enough. It's possibly a tad overexposed, like on the whites and the lights, but it's like overall, that's sort of minor. The whole feel, I think, works well. I'm just looking at the background. It almost looks like you could use a little noise reduction, maybe. It looks just a little bit gritty. Just, for salon, I don't know, you might just try a little some smoothing for the background. 7.
Sand and stone.
Yeah, this is one of these ones. It could be a tiny scene I'm looking at, or it could be an airplane. And I love it. I love when I'm not sure what the perspective is, but the forms are very natural, organic, interesting. It could be icing on a cake, it's like, the other thing that sort of like keeps me wondering is it sort of looks like the shadow looks kind of purpley. I don't know. That just looks a little, everything else looks sort of organic, but that looks like maybe the shadow interpreted a little too blue or something like that. But I think it works really well as an abstract and as a landscape, if that's indeed what it is. 7.
Wood and windows.
I love it. Again, this person stood very precisely, cropped it very precisely. Their lines are straight, but it's not all about straight lines because you've got those curves inherent in there. It's a nice pattern that you saw. I like the color renditions. And again, the way you just kept everything nice and straight, but there's movement as well. 7.
Morning catch.
Hey, kudos for getting real low. Not everybody wants to lay on their belly for these kind of shots, but it really makes a difference when you get low like this. And, obviously it's a great behavior and, natural shot. Your focus looks great. Look at that little narrow depth of field, but you nailed it right where you had it. 7.
Old dog.
Yeah, the color is, I like the colors, the kind of nostalgic feel of the sepia toning. It could be like timeless in a way. You caught this motion with the mud spray or whatever, trying to read what his shirt says on it, but he's focused, he's present, he's set off against the background kind of in an interesting way. I mean, I think this works really well. It kind of like, it keeps me looking at it. I kind of want to know more what the story is. 7.
Backyard sparrow.
Might be a finch, but I'm not going to get particular here. It's beautiful, beautifully photographed. The bird itself, the soft light is really nice. I don't think you need to saturate the background that much. I mean, it's okay. Maybe it was like that, but that's the only thing I'm hesitating. I'm going to give you a great score on this because I think you did a great job. But I think if you're going for a natural look, which it looks like you are with the bird, you just want to tone down those yellow greens, in my opinion. Maybe you like it that way, it's fine. But in my opinion, I think it would be a little more natural, just a little less saturated. But you're going to get a great score, 7.
Stormy winter morning.
Okay, it's a kind of hyper real, maybe high dynamic range, lots of detail, kind of like a bit fantastic with the sky and everything like that. I think it's kind of neat for your subject. I'm just wondering, like to the center, to the right of the center top, there's like these lines in the sky, and I don't know if it's some kind of artifact of your processing or whether there was something blowing around. That's the only thing that's bugging me. I don't know if I'm the only one that sees those, but I kind of like the fantastic feel of it. And it's a great composition. 7.
Freezing bubbles.
You're scrubbing bubbles? I'll take the freezing bubbles. I want to be like a little Who or something, a Whoville, and go live in that bubble. It's beautiful. I love the dark background and the way that kind of light hits those silvery crystals that are forming. It's got to be really cold to do something like this. It's got to be like under 10, I think, if not windy at all. But just looking at it as a picture, I think you pulled it off really well. You're focusing on the crystals, maybe a little more depth of field so you can get the bubble a little sharper, but that's kind of nitpicking. 7.
Catterskill Falls.
It's lovely. I'm just a little jealous because when I was there, the light was horrible. So we get some nice color in the trees and the yellows and the greens, and it looked like the lighting was a little contrasty, but you kind of balanced it out well with your processing, but it's not overdone. 7.
Cedar waxwing.
We were just talking about those. They're so pretty. It's like they're airbrushed, and your photo looks like it's airbrushed. It's kind of a painterly look, and I think it suits the subject perfectly. The bright spot to the left of the bird is a little bit distracting. I want to tone that down a little bit, but it's not that bad. 7.
Slinky.
All right, definitely a journey for my eyes. Nice contrast with the black and white. 7.
Oil paint dahlia.
It's a lovely interpretation of the flower. I wish I could paint. I do things like that sometimes, with my photos. I like how you cropped it. You found a beautiful specimen that probably would look great printed on a canvas with a nice wood frame around it. 7.
Fall tranquility.
Hey, you found a beautiful area and, I could tell there were shadows that you had to light in and deal with the kind of contrasty lighting, but I think overall you achieved a natural look. Sometimes it's easy to over process these kind of pictures. Um, it might be slightly more balanced if you could darken the blues in the sky and in the water. It just might kind of like some of the color and feel washes out with all the brights there. But it's a nice composition. I like the green kind of spilling into the side over here for a contrast. 7.
Screaming for vengeance.
Yeah, the texture on the picture works, I think, for a historical airplane like this. It kind of makes it look like an old photo. The sense of motion below the photo works nicely. I could see the pilot a little bit. 7. Looks like an old postcard.
Lotus flower number 17.
Okay, also kind of a painterly interpretation, whether or not there's any filter, I don't know, but it's just kind of got a nice glow to it. I love where it is on the frame. The only distracting thing to me is underneath the flower, there's like these white spots here and there. I'm like such a stickler for spots. I go away for a picture and I come back and I'm like, I missed 10 spots, and I go with my spot healing tool to fix it up. I mean, if they're not there on purpose, you get rid of them. And it could be that this is brighter than your computer at home, so you didn't really see it. And that's where that technique of putting it on black and putting it on white kind of like shows you things like that. I'm going to give you a good score, but that's just my only nitpick with this picture, because it's a beautiful flower and presentation otherwise. 7.
Washington Square at night.
So many choices, how much of the ground to put in, how much of the sky to put in. I kind of feel like I like the colors, the lighting works well, but there's either too much brown or not enough brown, or there's definitely not enough sky. I think where you cut it off doesn't really work. It just feels like, where's the tops of those buildings? My eyes just gets there and it's like, oh, I'm stuck. There's no breathing space. So I think compositionally maybe a little bit off here. Also, with the wide angle, you get this tilted feel, the flagpole's tilted, everything's tilted a little bit. I feel like a little disoriented here. It's just like maybe up a little and tilted a little to the right, in my opinion. 6.
Water drops.
Hey. It's so cool how these, there's a whole flower back there and you only can see a little bit in the background, but that's what it is. And then you see what you're looking at through those refracted drops. And it's not always easy to focus like this, so you did a nice job. 7.
Central Park.
Super pleasing. That's a big metal print I'd hang on my wall. It's just that the tones are handled so nicely. The lighting was a little low. The colors came out well. There's somehow you managed to pull out some detail in the shadows in a very natural way. I think it's beautiful. 7.
Butterfly.
Okay. So yeah, nice specimen. You caught it with its wings open. The focus looks really nice. I guess I got distracted by that big blotch in the background. It's like every little part of the picture contributes to your overall feel. I could just ignore it and say, oh, it's a beautiful butterfly. It is, but that's a good, fourth of your picture in the background there. So I would have maybe darkened it or smoothed it out or something like that. But I'm going to give you 7 because most of it works.
Prisms.
I'm going to come play with you guys with these fun things that you guys have to play with. I feel like I'm in Oz. I like the setup. I like the colors. Background complements rather than distracts. It's a little bit reminds me of the balloon festival with those colors of the balloons and everything. 7. 8. 9. 8. 8. 9. 8. 7. 8. 9. 9. 9. 9. 8. 8. 8. 8. 7. 9. 8. 8. 9. 7. 8.
Okay. Open salon, honorable mention. Submerged, Lenny McDonald. Female cardinal number 5, Ron Dank. Edge, Peter Schmigel. Morning at Indian Head, Ryan Kirschner. Sand and Stone, Cheryl Gofillion. Stormy Winter Morning, Peter Schmigel. Freezing Bubbles, Arlene Sopranzetti. Catterskill Falls, Ryan Kirschner. Cedar Waxwing, Michael Augustiniak. Fall Tranquility, Lenny McDonald. Screaming for Vengeance, Al Brown. Lotus Flower number 17, Ron Dank. Water Drops, Arlene Sopranzetti. Prisms, Ellen Stein. And Equal Merit, A Patriot, Al Brown. Golden Snitch, Arlene Sopranzetti. Wood and Windows, Ellen Stein. Morning Catch, Lenny McDonald. Old Dog, Al Brown. Backyard Sparrow, Ron Dank. Oil Paint Dahlia, Ellen Stein. Central Park, Ryan Kirschner. That's all.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Works, but hard not to.
Yeah.
You guys are good at it.
Stop my share here. Okay.
It's still on.
Where do you want me to spend all the money?
And you can come play with us. So fun. Do you guys have a club night where you play with those, or just somebody has them at their house?
We've just been playing at her house.
We've been talking, and he did his own, and we did our. Oh, yeah. That'd be fun
Yeah.
having a play night.
Anybody online have any questions for Jackie? Okay. All right, congratulations to everybody online, and I'll say good night to them.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Jack.